They say that to get good at anything, you have to fail fast and you have to fail a lot. There's no way around this in the creativity realm. Staring and thinking of something won't get you very far. But I was scared. I was scared to try something that wasn't tested before. It was a lot easier to follow instructions even if it wasn't exactly what I wanted.
To begin, make a slip knot.
It took me a year before I tried making something of my own, decided my first shot at it was terrible, and that I'd rather let time pass than try again. When 2025 rolled around, I wanted to design at least one pattern. That was my biggest goal of the year, something that I can call my own, and just because it would be good as a crochet business. Actually, I wanted to design at least 6, but up until now, with about 2 weeks left in the year, I still haven't designed any. I've seen some really cool designs come from so many popular artists. I Am Lanka, Crochet by Jenna, TL Yarncraft, Yajia are just some of my favorites, and I couldn't figure out how the hell they came up with their designs. I'd stare at my paper and nothing came to mind. I felt like I had no imagination, and no matter how many pictures I added to my Pinterest board, I still had so many questions. What yarn should I use? What color do I want? What am I even making? Do I want to make a plushie, a bag, or clothes? How much yarn would I need? What kind of stitch should I use? How do I combine different stitches? How do I size the stitches? What size stitch should I use? And more importantly, am I even going to like it? Then I got one of the most popular crochet stitch dictionary books on the internet. Just a couple of days ago, I got this crochet book by the famous Dora Orenstein. I think it's one of the most recommended crochet book to learn stitches and everything. And I gotta say, my first impressions, I literally read it like I'm just reading a book, and I have been learning so much about shaping and stitches and how they get put together, and this is amazing. One of the stitches that I've always kind of wanted to learn was, I think, the jasmine stitch, but it also seemed like it used a lot of yarn and it was really chunky. So I found something here, the Margaret stitch, which is actually really, really pretty. It's kind of like a flower stitch or a star stitch. It looks like a smaller version of the jasmine stitch, but it uses a lot less yarn, and my second goal all year long was to use up my old yarn, so this felt like a good stitch to use it for a small to medium sized project. I had a couple of projects in mind, which really just meant I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the hell I wanted to make. I have been so wanting to make my own pattern, but I get so intimidated. And one of my goals for 2025 was to just design my own thing. We are still 2 weeks from the end of December, and I think I can at least get one very basic design out. My plan right now is to make a infinity headband, just because I've been needing one for my skincare, and I have not had an idea what to do with this Juicy Couture yarn. I got it because I was looking at Passionate Kelsey's videos and I was like, that's a really pretty yarn, and also it was on sale at Joann's. So but I don't make a lot of scrunchies. I have scrunchies. I don't feel the need to make another one, but I was looking at the stitch and I was just thinking what I could make, and I was like, this might be perfect. So I have made a swatch already with a slightly smaller Premier Basic yarn, and it actually looks pretty good in my opinion. So I am going to make another swatch with this, just to kind of play around with a few alterations, and then we're gonna take it from there. Yesterday's thought, I wanted to make this a headband, but when I was making the swatch, I really, really thought it would look amazing as a bag. So we're gonna just switch to that now. I'm actually going to use a bigger hook size just because I don't like how tight it feels. I'm also going to add in some back loop ribbing just so it gives this some more dimension. I'm thinking I don't want to use this color though, just because it's a little beige. This could be a good yarn eater project. The best part about the design process this time around was that I just decided to use small experiments throughout the entire project. Since I had so many questions like what kind of color should I use, I just tried different colors until I found one that I liked. I initially had the purple, and then I wondered if I could add in a blue to kind of offset it, or a black. And I actually didn't like how they ended up, so I ended up going back and simplifying my colors to the weights that I actually had. Obviously, I'm a little limited by my selection, but I wanted to find something that had the same weight, the same palette, and from there, I just tried it out until I was satisfied. So far, it is looking so good. This is what we have so far. You can kind of see the stars coming together. And I shockingly did not get the chain count wrong because for almost anything I start, I cannot count chains. Granted, this one's easier because you just have to make sure your count number is odd, but still, I thought I had it wrong and I looked at the pattern repeat again and I'm like, oh my god, yes. The pattern repeat is actually a little smaller than what I hoped for, which I don't know why I'm surprised because my yarn is actually kind of thin. I don't know what yarn this is. I grabbed this from my pile from God knows when this existed. But this other Premier Basics, I think they're just same weight and this is a light. So I'm hoping that this is a light too. I'm kind of just looking at how thick it is against my hand and hoping that it kind of matches up. I don't know how you do this otherwise. So the bag is definitely going to take me a little longer than I imagined, but I am so happy with what this looks like. I can't even be mad. Whether it is this way or this way, I will decide that later. But I am excited to see where it goes just because it looks so cute right now. I feel like most people might tell you, or most smart people, maybe most crochet pattern designers who are creating a pretty repeatable pattern would tell you to create a swatch just so you don't spend tens of hours doing something and then realizing later that doesn't look good. But we're just gonna go for a pattern anyway and hope that works out because I think it looks pretty cute. I did a little ribbing on the back of this row just to kind of see what it does. Instead of like going down the whole row, I only did this portion and I think it looks pretty good. You don't normally see this kind of back loop ribbing in a bag necessarily, but I think it could look really cute. This is a single crochet back loop only instead of a slip stitch just because I tried a slip stitch and it actually it looked a little too small for my liking. You wouldn't be able to actually see the ribbing. And I think this gives it a good height of just going back and forth back and forth 2 rows in total of single crochet back loop only. It gives you a nice ratio of the star stitch to this ribbing section. So we're gonna keep going with that and fingers crossed that things work out because part of me just really doesn't feel like making a swatch. So I think it will look good. I also was doing a little bit of Googling and I feel like I have no design sense because I was thinking about having the pattern go this way, like switching colors, purple, white, purple, white, purple, white, and then I'm looking at pictures and I'm like, oh, that kind of looks like a cheap Walgreens beach bag. And uh a lot of ones that actually caught my own eye were ones that went up like this. So we're just gonna copy that. So I just added in the white and I can already tell that's not exactly the design that I'm looking for. You can tell here when I add the white that it isn't kind of popping out like I think the ribbing is actually kind of keeping it back in, which I don't like how it looks. You can kind of see how it's a straight line from the back, like it doesn't come back out front. So I'm going to take that out and I'm going to try again. I'm going to try 1 row of back loop only, going back to normal rows, and then see if that makes a difference. Nope, don't like it. I did a row of back loop only, then a regular single crochet, then I added in the marguerite, and I still don't like how it looks. Also, I just think it's really funny that I don't do a swatch. I kind of just make a layer of what I know I'll like, and then do a random swatch in the middle for the rest of the pattern, which is what is happening here. But I don't like how the stitches are lining up on the row, so we're just gonna have to take that out. I also don't think the white actually reflects the stitch pattern as well. It kind of looks a little faded. The purple one, the stitches are popping out. The white one, not so much. Like you can tell there's something there, but it's not as obvious. But I love how the purple is reflected. of the last things I had to figure out was the sizing. I am such an indecisive person, and I couldn't figure out if I wanted a tote bag or a small shoulder bag or what have you. Obviously, I was limited by the amount of yarn that I actually have, so that kind of made the decision for me, and I had to guesstimate how big it would be making one panel and then the second panel. And it actually kind of worked out in the end. I also figured out that I could have some variations with striping if I really didn't have enough yarn. I think I reached a point where I could either keep going with the stripes or I tried finding another yarn that was similar palette but and a similar weight, but I don't think I have one. I tried a couple of options and they just were kind of making the thing bulge, or they weren't the right color, or they were a little too thick. I was gonna go back to the green actually. That's why you see the white stripe here, but I'm kind of feeling it just a continuous purple going back. I also really want to use up this yarn, so I'm making sure that I use up a good chunk. I don't know how big this bag is going to be. It might be determined by how much purple yarn I have left, but we'll keep chugging along. I'm going to increase it at least 3 times this size, but it looks so cute right now. Like, I love the white alterations and the pastel colors, and the stitch is just so pretty. Of course, I'm never home though, so cue the montage of my little weekend trip up to Boston where I finished most of the bags.
언제나 함께 있었으면 해 모든 게 다 통하니까 Feels like daydreaming 너와 있을 땐난 I love my life 사라지지만 나의 전부 그 chemistry 이상 너와 the two 힘들었을 때마다 늘 함께 했던 너 yeah. 눈이 마주쳤던 그 순간 생각을 공유해 우리 둘 사이의 텔레파시 바라보고 있는 날 봐.
This definitely wasn't the bag that I imagined I would make. It just kind of turned out how it turned out. It's kind of reminds me of a quote that my favorite author Stephen King once said, which was it's not even a quote. Just one of the lines I remember him saying was that his characters kind of dictate where the story goes. He doesn't even know where the story's going to end up, and I do believe him. And that's kind of how this ended up the way that it did. It turned out how I wanted it to turn out because I had a very limited amount of yarn, but I think it actually worked out really, really well. And it is the perfect size. Somehow it fits my laptop, even though that was not what I was intending for it. I love that these stitches stretch. I have so many more ideas lately about the things I want to make. I just hope that I can make them as fast as I can think of them. Things became a lot easier after I stopped thinking about things and just started doing. Obviously, there might be a lot more frogging if you don't actually put pen to paper and draw things out, but for me, that actually puts too much of a barrier between finding something that I like, finding a project that I think I want to make from a existing clothing that you can buy online, and just doing it instead of thinking too much about it. I actually have another project that I'm working on right now that I just kind of went for. I saw a stitch in my new Stitchtionary books, and I think that this is turning out pretty well so far. It looks like just a normal double crochet, but there is some texture in there, which I really like, and I love the stripes and the varying thicknesses of the bolder colors, and it is a little wider than I imagined. Like, this is where my shoulders are, and this is how big it is. I'm thinking it's gonna become a boxy sweater, and we're just gonna try to figure out as we go along. It's become a lot more exciting once I started lowering the bar, because if the bar is on the floor, anything that I make will be better than that. And that makes things so much easier to approach. Cheers to a new chapter of just going for it, because it took me so long to get over the mental block of just making whatever the hell I wanted.